We're diving into some pretty heavy stuff today, folks. But don't worry, this isn't about bumming us out.
No, no, not at all.
It's about taking control,
Absolutely.
feeling empowered.
Yeah.
So we're looking at part 2 of The Freedom Years by Baha and Margaret Hobashi.
Okay.
And they really make a strong case for why taking control of your end-of-life planning is the ultimate act of love.
That's interesting.
For yourself and your family.
Yeah, and what's so cool is they start with a real-life story.
Yeah.
To kind of draw you in.
Yeah, they introduced Jack and Anna, this couple who built this amazing life.
Yeah.
But they were totally unprepared for Jack's sudden passing.
Right. And it's their story that brings us to these 6 key professionals that we all might need as we approach the end of life.
I was hooked on that story.
Yeah.
And it really made me think. We think we've got it all figured out, but then they hit us with this statistic.
Oh, yeah.
30% of deaths are unexpected. Talk about a wake-up call. It made me realize, even if I'm not ready to plan every little detail, just having some basics in place could really help my loved ones later.
Yeah, definitely minimize the chaos during a time that's already so emotional.
Absolutely.
And that's where the funeral director comes in.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just there for the logistics. They actually guide you through what can feel like a really overwhelming process.
Yeah.
And the book breaks down the potential costs.
Oh, really?
And get this, there can be over 70 different line items on a funeral bill.
70.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
No wonder the average funeral in Canada costs $10,000.
That's a lot.
So I'm starting to see why pre-planning isn't just about being organized.
Right.
It's also about protecting your family
from
that potential financial strain.
Absolutely. You want to make conscious choices, not emotional reactions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Speaking of emotional decisions, the book's discussion of the pastor's role really hit me. Oh, it's not just about the religious side of things.
Right.
It's about helping families deal with their grief and find meaning in the midst of loss.
I noticed that too. And remember how Jack and Anna,
Oh, yeah.
they had totally different ideas
Yeah,
about what the funeral service should look like.
totally.
And it made me realize that having those conversations early, not just about the logistics, but like the kind of send-off you'd want,
Right.
can really prevent conflict later on.
For sure, the book even gives you some questions to think about.
Oh, really?
Like what qualities you want to be remembered for, or what message you want to leave behind.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like writing your own eulogy in a way.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit to the legal side of things.
Right.
Let's talk about the lawyer.
Yeah.
The book's pretty clear. Having a will is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's about protecting your assets, making sure your wishes are carried out,
For sure.
and honestly, avoiding a legal mess after you're gone.
It's a good point. And the authors say that a whopping 70% of people don't have an up-to-date will.
Wow.
So it's really concerning.
Yeah.
Because dying without a will can mean the government steps in to make decisions about your estate.
Oh, wow.
And that might not line up with what you or your family wanted.
That's a scary thought. I mean, we put so much effort into building our lives, securing our finances, but then we drop the ball on something as important as a will.
Yeah.
What I really liked was how the book talked about creating an executor folder.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like a roadmap for your executor. With your asset lists, liabilities, even passwords.
Yeah.
It's like taking all the guesswork out of a really tough job.
It's about providing clarity and peace of mind for your loved ones.
All right, let's talk about taxes.
Oh, boy.
Even in death, taxes are unavoidable.
I know, right?
But before reading this chapter,
Yeah.
I had no idea what terminal taxes even were.
Right. It's not something we usually think about. But the book explains how these final tax returns work.
Okay.
And why having an accountant can be a lifesaver for your executor. Imagine trying to deal with all those complex tax laws while you're grieving.
It sounds like a nightmare.
It's a recipe for disaster.
So just like with the lawyer, it sounds like having all your financial documents organized is key.
Yeah, for sure.
The book mentions tax returns, income statements, asset details. Having all of that ready to go can make things so much easier for your loved ones.
Absolutely. It's about being proactive now.
Yeah.
To ease the burden later.
Makes sense.
And that brings us to the realtor.
Okay, so I get that a realtor helps you buy and sell houses.
Right.
But what's their role in all of this?
Well, remember Anna's struggle with downsizing.
Oh, yeah.
The book uses her story to show how a good realtor can be a big help in end-of-life planning.
Okay.
especially when it comes to those tough decisions about property.
Oh, right. She was torn between keeping the family home and downsizing. And her sons had their own opinions, too.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a recipe for family drama.
For sure, and that's where the realtor can step in, the neutral third party.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Providing market analysis, weighing the costs and benefits of different options.
Right.
Even connecting families with contractors for renovations or repairs.
That's smart. Okay, on to the last professional, the book highlights.
Okay.
And this one was a bit of a surprise for me, the liquidator.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not a term you hear every day.
Not at all. But think about it. We collect so much stuff.
So much stuff.
Over our lifetime.
Yeah.
What happens to it all when we're gone?
Right.
The book explains that a liquidator helps families clear out a home, sell or donate items, and basically deal with all those possessions.
Yeah.
That can feel really overwhelming to deal with.
Especially when you're grieving.
Yeah, and it's not just about getting rid of things.
Right.
The book shares Anna's experience, and she talks about feeling completely lost when it came to downsizing.
I can imagine.
Her friend gives her some great advice.
Oh, yeah.
Tackle one room at a time.
Okay.
Focus on the essentials.
Yeah.
And make sure to keep those precious memories.
Yeah, that's good advice.
That's a really thoughtful approach.
Yeah, it's about acknowledging that emotional weight of those belongings, but also giving you practical steps to move forward.
Makes sense. What's also interesting is how the liquidator's role has changed.
Oh, how so?
It's not just about estate sales anymore.
Right.
The book talks about modern liquidators using online auctions to reach more people and get better prices for their clients.
Yeah, it's smart.
It's amazing how technology is changing even these traditional end-of-life services.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we've covered these 6 key professionals.
Yeah.
Funeral director, pastor, lawyer, accountant, realtor, and liquidator.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. But each one has a unique role to play
Yeah.
in ensuring a smooth and dignified transition.
Right.
Both practically and emotionally.
Absolutely, and it all comes back to this idea of planning ahead.
It does. The book asks, why didn't Jack think of these things before he was gone? It's a really powerful question that highlights how much we burden our loved ones when we don't address these issues.
It's almost like we think we're protecting them by avoiding these conversations.
Right.
But really, we're making things harder for them down the road.
Exactly. Adding to their stress during an already difficult time.
Yeah. And what really hit me was how the book frames this whole process as an act of love.
Oh, yeah.
Not just for our families, but for ourselves, too.
I love that. Taking control of your story, making choices that reflect your values.
Yeah.
And making sure that your passing brings comfort, not chaos, to those you leave behind.
One thing that stood out to me was how the book talks about the emotional toll of these decisions, especially for families who haven't talked about these things beforehand.
It's true, like with Anna and her sons, they were all grieving, but they also had different ideas about what should happen to the family home.
It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Right, and the authors don't shy away from those tough realities.
Yeah.
They emphasize how important it is to communicate openly, to express your wishes clearly, and to give your loved ones the gift of knowing what you wanted.
And it's not just about those big decisions.
No.
The book also has practical tips.
Oh, yeah.
For organizing your affairs. From creating an executor folder to documenting your digital legacy.
It's amazing they thought of everything.
It is impressive how thorough they are. But it's not just about checking things off a list.
No.
The authors encourage us to go deeper.
Right.
To think about what we want our legacy to be.
Yeah.
What values we want to pass on. What message of love and hope we want to leave behind.
That's beautiful. I love how they included that who cares % readiness, my next step chart.
Oh, yeah, me too.
It's not just a checklist. It's a tool for self-reflection and action.
Right. It makes you ask yourself, am I really prepared?
Yeah.
And if not, what's my next step?
It's a great way to turn those insights into concrete action.
Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, right? Taking action, no matter how small, to make sure that we finish well.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, what resonated most with you? What surprised you?
Yeah.
And what steps are you inspired to take? Maybe it's having that long overdue conversation with a loved one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's finally updating your will. Or maybe it's just taking some time to think about your values and your legacy.
Yeah, that's a good one, whatever that next step is.
Yeah.
Remember that preparing for the end isn't about focusing on death. It's about embracing life fully, And leaving a legacy of love and peace of mind.
Right.
For the people we care about most.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into finishing well.
It's been a good one.
We hope you found it insightful, empowering, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
I hope so.
Until next time, may you live well, love deeply, and finish strong.
Well said.
Okay, folks, that's it for today. See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it makes sense when you put it like that. Having someone objective who understands both the emotional and the financial side of things can be a huge help.
Right.
Okay, so on to the last professional, the book highlights.
Okay.
And honestly, this one was a bit of a surprise, The Liquidator.
I know, right? It wasn't something I was familiar with either.
No.
But when you think about it, we accumulate so much stuff over our lifetime.
So much stuff.
What happens to it all when we're gone?
That's a good question.
The book says a liquidator helps families clear out a home, sell or donate items, basically take care of all those possessions.
Right.
That can feel overwhelming to deal with when you're grieving.
Absolutely. And it's not just about getting rid of things either.
No, it's not.
The book shares Anna's experience, and she talks about feeling totally lost. Right.
When it came to downsizing.
Yeah.
And her friend gives her some really good advice.
Oh, like what?
Tackle one room at a time.
Okay.
Focus on the essentials.
Yeah.
And make sure to preserve those precious memories.
Oh, that's what...
It's a very compassionate approach.
Yeah, it really is acknowledging the emotional weight of those things.
Right.
While also giving practical steps to move forward.
What's also interesting is how the role of the liquidator has evolved.
Oh, so...
It's not just about estate sales anymore.
Right.
The book mentions these modern liquidators who use online auctions to reach a wider audience and get better prices for their clients.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we've covered these 6 key professionals: funeral director, pastor, lawyer, accountant, realtor, and liquidator.
It's a mouthful.
It is.
Yeah.
But each one plays a unique role.
Absolutely.
In ensuring a smooth and dignified transition, both practically and emotionally.
Yeah, for sure.
But it all comes back to this idea of proactive planning.
Right. The book asks this really poignant question.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
Why didn't Jack think of these things before he was gone?
That's heavy.
It is. And it highlights the burden we put on our loved ones when we don't take care of these things.
Yeah, we kind of think we're protecting them by avoiding these conversations.
But we're really just making things harder down the line.
Exactly. Adding to their stress when they're already going through so much.
And what really struck me was how the book frames this whole process as an act of love.
Oh, yeah.
Not just for our families, but for ourselves as well.
I love that.
Taking control of our story. Making choices that align with our values, and ensuring that our passing is a source of comfort, not chaos, for those we leave behind.
It's beautiful.
It's like we're adding a layer of guilt on top of their grief.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's not just about those big decisions either.
Right.
The book encourages us to share our wishes about everything.
Oh, wow.
From funeral arrangements to, like, what happens to our stuff. It's about giving our loved ones that clarity, knowing they're honoring our wishes, even when we're not there.
And that takes the pressure off of them?
Exactly. They're not left guessing.
Right.
Or second-guessing themselves.
Yeah.
During an already emotional time.
Absolutely. And it's not just about our loved ones.
No.
The book also talks about self-reflection.
Oh, yeah?
Like asking ourselves some tough questions.
What kind of questions?
It's like, what do I want my legacy to be? What values do I want to pass on?
Yeah.
What message of love and hope do I want to leave behind?
It's like taking ownership of our own story.
Exactly. Thinking about how we want to be remembered.
Right, and the impact we want to have.
Yeah, and it's not a one-time thing either.
No.
It's like an ongoing process, you know?
Yeah.
Our values might change, our priorities might shift, and that's okay.
Right.
The important thing is to stay engaged with it.
Keep those conversations going.
Exactly.
I love how the authors frame this as an act of love.
Me too.
Both for ourselves and for the people we care about.
It's not about dwelling on death. It's about really living.
Right, making choices that reflect our values.
And our hopes for the future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
I
want to challenge you to take action.
Okay.
Remember that who cares % readiness, my next step chart.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Take a look at it and ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today?
Yeah.
To move closer to that goal of finishing well.
That's a great question. Maybe it's scheduling that conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's updating your will.
Right.
Or maybe it's just taking some time to think about your values and your legacy.
Every step, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction.
That's so true. Well said.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into finishing well.
This has been great.
We hope you found it insightful, empowering, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
I hope so too.
Until next time, may you live well, love deeply, and finish strong.
Beautifully said.
Okay, folks, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.